Hello everybody, I hope all of you had a great weekend and welcome into a new video. Today we're sitting in front of the trusty pad and this is to give an exercise to all of those who are wanting to get really good hands and good control over their hands. I give this lesson or these exercises to all of my younger students, beginning students, and then some of the older students that just need to learn how to control your hands. And it comes down to that pinky. Using your pinky. Everybody wants to let go with the pinky and just grip with these two fingers. And they squeeze up here, which in turn takes all of these back fingers off of the stick. So what this exercise does is gets you, your hands, understanding of what is really going on and really getting, pun intended, a grip on how you hold the sticks. So in most of my lessons, especially pad lessons and rudimental stuff, I use George Lawrence Stone's technique for pad, and I work a lot out of stick control. I know I've said many times that, you know, I'll live and die by stick control. It's a fantastic book. And page 5, there's so much to do on page 5 that once you get done with that, I mean, it goes through the whole book. So we'll start with, this is all going to be match grip. I will do something different for traditional grip with this same exercise, but it's all going to be match grip and your hands are going to stay in a German position. German, again, hands facing down and you're holding the stick like this. So there's 3 different positions that we want to use to hold the hand. All of these incorporating and putting the predominant work on the pinky and the ring finger. The middle pointer and thumb will be holding the stick in place, but these 2 fingers will be doing the work of keeping the stick in the hand. What you really need to understand and remember and train your hand to do is be sure that those fingers are always touching the stick, and that stick in this particular exercise, the first 2 parts to this exercise, and that stick is touching this meaty part to the hand. So with that, the first position we're going to use with our hands, always remember, keep your hands relaxed. Having a relaxed hand is the key to all of this. Even though in this first position, we're going to close this space right here, just a bit. We're not going to squeeze down on that. We're just going to close this space up, keeping everything still relaxed in your hand. I call this a control stroke because you're controlling everything that's in your hand and with the stick, your hand, and you're not using a bounce. So this is just a closed, because we're closing this space, a closed, controlled stroke. Going through the Stone exercises of full stroke, half stroke, and a tap stroke. We're going to use each one of those. I'm also using, again, page 5 from stick control, and I've got the metronome set to 60. And right now we're just going to use quarter notes. So with this first stroke, first exercise, we're going to remember that when you grab the stick, you just let your hand relax, like so, and you can put the stick in. Go straight down, your palm remains down. We don't want to go into American, we're not going to French, hands are not turning upside down. It stays in this French position. There should be a triangle in front of you with the stick in the center of the pad. So from here, we raise straight up. The palms of your hands should be as if you're doing this. So you're sitting here, the palm of your hand will come down, touch, and you'll come straight up. So without a stick in your hand, you sit like this. Your hand is moving this way. And as a matter of fact, we can do this exercise just like this starting out. And so now you're simply doing a wrist stroke that is controlled. Kind of like hitting a bongo or kunga. From there, we grab the stick, as we should, slightly closed. We're not going tight closed like the new marching guys do. And I say new because this was marching back in the day. So the new high school and college marching. I am using number 1 and number 2 in stick control. I'm going to play these as quarter notes to start off with to be sure that I am controlling that stick as much as possible. I'm also making sure that this pinky is not coming off the stick and that stick is not coming off the pad of my hand. So the stroke is not this, where as you can see here, I'm coming off the pad. It stays in my hand and that is your stroke. We're using full strokes for this first one. Closed control stroke. So let's start the metronome. Again, this is 60 beats a minute. I'm going to do number 1, which is basically a single stroke roll. You're going to hold your hands here in the full stroke position, hit the pad, come back up. You're going to hit the pad, come back up. I'm not looking for volume. You shouldn't be looking for volume. It's not about speed. It is about controlling that stroke all the way through. The fact that it is up here is going to be what makes your volume and that as an accented stroke. So, starting with number 1, using quarter notes, 3, 4, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. As you see, while I'm doing this, the stick is staying firmly in my hand. I am relaxed. My hands are relaxed. And this is a very controlled stroke. And you can hear it in the sound of the stick. So that is number 1. The next hold that you're going to do in these controlled strokes is, I call this an open stroke. So now you're going to be holding the sticks like this. You're going to have a gap right here. Pinky, ring finger are still holding that stick completely pressed up against the pad of your hand. It is not tight, but you should be able to hear a difference in the sound of the stick. So there's that. We'll go back to 60 beats a minute, 3, 4, and do the same thing. Next, this is, a lot of people call this a free stroke, but I've added it into this for my students to understand what it is for the stick to bounce. So now we're going to go to this very open type of stroke. And it is just like you're bouncing a basketball. And you're just going to let your hand follow that stick. In this stroke, as you see, I am not touching the palm of my hand. I am now really holding it between these 3 fingers and literally just bouncing that basketball. So we're going to do the same thing. Number 1, stick control. 3, 4. And with this, you can really hear how open the stick sound is. That's all 3 strokes. That is all 3 holds the controlled, the open, the free. Now, using the same exercise, I'm going to go through each one of those strokes at quarter notes. And I'm going to do them at each height. So the first one will be at the full stroke position. The second one will be at the half stroke position. The third one will be at the tap stroke position. If you're not familiar with these strokes, I'll link a video somewhere that I went over the George Lawrence Stone technique and his half strokes, or the level system as he calls it. Everybody has talked about these constantly. When I was studying with Barry James, which was Stone's last living student, we went over these concepts and thoughts and how they work and that kind of thing. So I've studied this pretty good for a while. And like I said, I give all these strokes and I give this exact exercise to my students currently. What we're going to do here, we're going to play number 1, and I'm going to do the 2 measures once in the full stroke, once in the half stroke, once in the tap stroke. Then I'm going to change my hand position, so I'm going to go from the closed to the open to the free. 2, 3, 4. Now I'm in the open control, free, controlled, half stroke, open, now number 3 will be a little harder here. And tap. Open. And the free stroke will really not work here. But you can let go of those back fingers and just let everything drop. So that's using number 1 and stick control. Ideally, what you would want to do is do this a little faster. And now I'm going to go through and I'm going to do number 1 and then I'm going to drop to number 2. All in the same stick hold. Then I'm going to jump back up to number 1 and change my position again. So we'll go through all 3 of the positions, full, half, tap, and all 3 of the holds. 3, 4, number 1. Number 2. Number 1 in the open. Number 2. Back to number 1. Number 2. If you notice here, that stick is really flying back. Number 2, half stroke, closed. Going to number 2. Open. Back to number 1. Free. To number 2. And into tap strokes. Number 2. And this is in the closed position. Open. And then that free. And if you notice, I'm really taking my pinkies off of the stick now. Number 2. And that is all 3 of the hand holds through number 1 and number 2. Ideally, you'd want to put this a little bit faster. So let's actually just take it up to 80. But now we're going to put it into 1/8 notes. So you can actually match what's going on there. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. Number 1, close stroke. 3, 4. Open. Free. One, half stroke, 2, ready, and open, free stroke. Tap stroke. So that's using number 1 for the most part there. So now I'm going to go through and do that same thing again, but I'm going to jump down to number 2. And this works with all of the exercises and stick control. If you go through each one of these in each of those positions, in each of those holds, it will start training your hand to keep the pinky back here touching the stick, unless it's intentional that you want a really easy, open, spacey roll like that, or exercise. But for the most part, you're really going to get used to those pinkies touching that stick. And that works with all of these. Number 2, closed. Should say number 3, free. So it'll work with all of them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through number 1 and number 2 through all of the levels and through all of the holds. 2, ready, and And there you have it. A great exercise to get control over your hand and to train it to stop gripping so much right here between these two fingers, or even back here between these two fingers. You want it to be held in this position with an opening. When I close it, I'm going for a different sound. When I really open it, again, it is a different sound. I hope you have fun with that. Again, Stick Control is a great book. If any of you would like lessons to go over the Stick Control book, even the stuff in the back, the long rolls and where everybody kind of gets weird about, I don't know how to count this. I do know how to count it. I can teach you. I will leave contact information in the description. Please hit that like and subscribe and leave some comments. I do interact. I love interacting with everybody. And I am trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So, till the next video, happy drumming.